So hey everyone, today I'm going to be going over my recommended export settings for the best quality edits on Premiere Pro. As I said, these are my recommended settings and will differ from edit to edit. Starting off with the format, H.264 is perfect. Open the video tab and make sure frame size and frame rate have been checked to match the source settings, and you want to make sure that the field order is progressive and the aspect is square pixels 1.0. If for whatever reason it's something else, you just want to uncheck the box and manually change it to match my settings. Then scroll down and you want to make sure that this one here, use maximum render quality, has been checked. Do not check this one at the top, it's a waste of time. Time interpolation, frame sampling by default, so I'll leave it as that. The encoding settings, depending on whether or not you have a compatible graphics card, I highly recommend using hardware encoding. This option uses your graphics card, software encoding uses your CPU. Hardware, much faster, software, much slower, but better quality. So wouldn't it be better to use software? Well, it depends. I prefer to use hardware because first of all, it's much faster, and secondly, I run my edits through Topaz AI anyway to upscale it, so I'm not really too fussed about the quality because I'm going to enhance it anyway. Profile, make sure that this has been set to high, and the level. I highly recommend leaving this box checked so it will pick a level depending on your source, which are your sequence settings, and also the bitrate. However, if you are editing at 1080p, then go for 4.2. 4.1 also works, but for some sequences like mine, for example, mine is 1080 by 1440 at 60 fps. Apparently 4.2 is the better option, so I'm going to stick to that. But if you're editing at 1440p, which is 2K, then go for 5.0. And if you're editing at 4K resolution, then go for 5.1, or perhaps even 5.2 if you're editing 4K at 60 FPS. I'm going to stick to 4.2. Now leave everything else here. So the export color space, that should be Rec 709 by default, and the HDR settings don't matter. You're making an anime edit or a car edit or a, I don't know, football edit. HDR is the least of your worries. So don't worry, it does not affect your sequence. Now scroll all the way down to the bitrate settings, and this depends on your preference. Do not go for CBR. That means constant bitrate. So for instance, if I set it to CBR 20, that means the entire edit will be at a constant 20 Mbps. So if it needs more bitrate, for example, if it needed 22, it can't do that because the bitrate is consistent instead of variable, which makes it look terrible. So you want to go for a variable bitrate. If you go for one pass, this will use your graphics card as long as you have the hardware encoding selected, and the results are pretty good. I haven't really had many issues with it, especially since I run my edit through Topaz AI to upscale and enhance it. On the other hand, by using VBR 2 pass, you are using your CPU to render. What's the biggest benefit? Well, your quality looks much better. At least that's what people say, even though I haven't really noticed a huge difference. In terms of speed, VBR 1 pass is much quicker because, as I said, first of all, it uses your graphics card, and it also needs to process it once, which is why it's called 1 pass. 2 pass means it does it twice. It's like painting a wall. You paint it once and then you paint it again just to polish it up. So yeah, it depends on which one you prefer. This video is about best quality, so 2 pass it is. And as for the target bitrate, this really does depend on your sequence settings, and it also depends on the edit itself, because if there's a lot of detail, a lot of movement, you need a lot of bitrate, something around maybe 26. In fact, that might be a bit too much, something around 22. It varies from edit to edit, so I can't give you a specific value. So what you can do is run a few test exports, create some in to out points on your timeline, and export that very small sequence just to see if it looks good. If you're seeing some artifacts from compression, then just turn it up by 2. So instead of 22, go 24, and keep increasing it until it looks perfect. Next up is the audio, so open that up. These settings are already set for you by default, but it's best to just double check. So AAC for both the format and the codec. Sample rate 48,000. Channels should be stereo, unless for some reason the audio in your sequence is not stereo but mono instead. Audio bitrate leave at 320. And that's pretty much all you have to do, is what you might think. Watch these videos here if you want to know how to upscale them and compress them for the absolute best quality. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.